The first cry split the air like thunder. Sarah had been waiting 9 long months for this moment. She had painted the nursery yellow because she wanted it perfect for both babies. She had folded tiny clothes and read books about being a mom to twins. She had dreamed about their faces every single night. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared her for what happened next. "It's a girl!" the doctor shouted, lifting the first baby high. Sarah's heart exploded with joy. Tears ran down her cheeks like rivers. Tom, her husband, squeezed her hand so tight it almost hurt, but it was a good hurt. The kind that happens when you're so happy you might burst. "And here comes the second one," the nurse called out. "Another girl. 2 baby girls. 2 perfect miracles." But then, silence. The room became so quiet that Sarah could hear her own heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. It sounded loud and scared. The doctor's smile froze on his face. The nurses stopped moving. Everyone stared at the 2 tiny babies wrapped in white blankets. "What's wrong?" Sarah tried to sit up. Her voice shook. "What's wrong with my babies?" The doctor cleared his throat. "Nothing is wrong, Mrs. Patterson. Your daughters are there perfectly healthy." But his eyes said something different. His eyes said, "Something is very strange here." A nurse brought the babies closer. Sarah reached out with trembling arms. And then she saw them, really saw them. Her baby girls had the most beautiful dark skin she had ever seen. Rich and deep like chocolate, like the earth after rain. Their tiny faces were perfect, with little button noses and the sweetest lips. But Sarah was white, pale white, with freckles and red hair. And Tom standing right beside her. He was white too, with blue eyes and blonde hair. "I don't understand," Tom whispered. His face went as white as paper. Sarah pulled both babies to her chest. She could feel their tiny hearts beating against her, fast and strong and alive. "They're ours," she said firmly. "These are our daughters." But even as she said it, doubt crept into the room like a cold wind. The nurses exchanged glances. One of them whispered something to another. Sarah saw it all. She felt the change in the air, the suspicion, the questions nobody wanted to ask out loud. Tom took a step backward, just one step. But to Sarah, it felt like he had walked a mile away. "Tom." Her voice broke. He stared at the babies. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. No words came out. "Mr. and Mrs. Patterson," the doctor said carefully, "I think we should run some tests, just to be sure of everything." "Sure of what?" Sarah's voice rose. "These are my babies. I carried them for 9 months. I felt them kick and move and hiccup inside me." "I understand," the doctor said softly, "but we need to understand what's happening here. This is highly unusual." Highly unusual. Those words hung in the air like smoke. Tom finally found his voice. "A DNA test," he said quietly. "We need a DNA test." Sarah's heart cracked right down the middle. "You think they're not yours?" "I don't know what to think." Tom's voice rose too. He ran his hands through his hair. "Sarah, look at them. How is this possible?" "I don't know." Tears poured down Sarah's face now. "But I know they're mine. I know in my bones, in my soul. These are our daughters, Tom." One of the babies started crying. Then the other joined in. Their little voices filled the room with sadness. Sarah rocked them gently. "SHHHH, my sweet girls. Mama's here. Mama's got you." The doctor stepped forward. "We can have results in about 7 days. The test is simple, just a swab from inside the cheek. 7 days. A whole week of not knowing. A whole week of doubt and fear and questions." Tom walked to the window. He stood there with his back to Sarah and the babies. His shoulders were stiff and straight. "Do the test," he said without turning around. Sarah wanted to scream. She wanted to throw something. But the babies needed her calm. They needed her strong. "Fine," she whispered. "Do the test." The nurse came with small cotton swabs. She gently rubbed the inside of each baby's mouth. Then she did the same to Sarah and Tom. "We'll call you as soon as we have the results," the nurse said. Her voice was kind, but her eyes were full of pity. Sarah hated that look. She hated all of this. When everyone left the room, Sarah sat alone with her daughters. Tom had walked out, saying he needed air. He needed time to think. She looked down at the two tiny faces. They had stopped crying now. Their eyes, dark and deep like the night sky, stared up at her with complete trust. "I'm your mama," Sarah whispered to them. "No matter what any test says, no matter what anyone thinks, I'm your mama, and I will love you forever." She kissed their soft foreheads, breathing in that sweet baby smell. Outside the hospital room, she could hear whispers, nurses talking in low voices. The words floated through the door like poison. "Did you see those babies? How is that even possible? Something's not right here. Poor man. Can you imagine?" Sarah closed her eyes and held her daughters tighter. That night, Tom came back. He sat in the chair across from the bed, not close enough to touch them. "What will we name them?" Sarah asked, trying to find something normal to hold on to. Tom was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I can't think about names right now." The room felt cold despite the warm blankets. "Tom, please. They need names. They need their father." "Are they mine?" he asked. His voice was so small and broken. "Sarah, tell me the truth. Did something happen? Did you?" "No." Sarah's voice cracked like breaking glass. "How could you even ask me that? I love you. There's never been anyone else." Tom put his head in his hands. "Then how do you explain this?" "I can't," Sarah admitted. "But I know that these babies are ours. Both of ours. I can feel it." The babies slept peacefully between them, unaware that their very existence had torn their parents' world apart. 7 days. They had 7 days to wait. 7 days to wonder. 7 days to doubt. But Sarah made a promise to herself that night. No matter what the test said, no matter what anyone believed, she would be these babies' mother. She would protect them from every hateful word, every suspicious look, every whisper in the dark. She didn't know it yet, but buried deep in her blood was a secret, a story that traveled across oceans and through time, a truth so beautiful and impossible that it would change everything. A name waited in the shadows of history, Alma. And in 7 days, that name would rise like the sun, bringing with it a light that would heal what was broken and reveal what was hidden. But for now, Sarah just held her babies close and waited for the storm to pass. Day 1 felt like a year. Sarah sat in the rocking chair by the window, feeding one baby while the other slept in the bassinet beside her. She had named them in her heart, even though Tom refused to talk about names. The one with the tiny birthmark on her left ankle was Grace. The one who always seemed to smile in her sleep was Hope. Grace and Hope, because that's what Sarah needed right now. Tom had gone to work. He said he needed to keep things normal, but Sarah knew the truth. He couldn't look at the babies without questions flooding his eyes. Her phone buzzed. It was her mother. "Honey, I heard about the babies." Her mom's voice was careful, like she was walking on broken glass. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom." "Sarah, people are talking." Sarah's stomach twisted. "What are they saying?" Her mother paused. "Maybe I should come over. We need to talk." When her mother arrived an hour later, she brought Sarah's sister Linda with her. They stood at the nursery door, looking at the sleeping babies like they were puzzles that didn't make sense. "They're beautiful," her mother finally said, but her voice was sad. "Then why do you sound like someone died?" Sarah asked. Linda sat down on the bed. "Sarah, we're just worried. It's confusing. Are you sure nothing happened? Maybe at the doctor's office? Maybe they mixed up." "They didn't mix up anything." Sarah's voice rose, and Grace started to fuss. She picked her up, holding her close. "These came from my body. I pushed them out. They're mine." Her mother touched Sarah's shoulder. "We know, honey, but you have to understand how this looks." "How it looks." Sarah felt anger burning in her chest. "They're babies, innocent babies, and everyone is treating them like there's some kind of mistake. That's not what we're saying." Linda tried to explain. "We just want to understand." "The DNA test will explain everything," Sarah said, though she didn't know if that was true. After her mother and sister left, Sarah felt more alone than ever. She looked at Grace and Hope, their dark skin glowing in the afternoon sunlight. "You're not a mistake," she whispered to them. "You're my miracles." Day 2 was worse. Tom's parents came to visit. His father stood at the door of the nursery, arms crossed, face like stone. "Those are not my grandchildren," he said flatly. Sarah felt like he had slapped her. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, Sarah, but you won't make a fool of my son." "Get out!" Sarah's voice was ice cold. "Get out of my house." Tom's mother touched her husband's arm. "Let's just wait for the test results, dear." "I don't need a test to tell me what my eyes already see," Tom's father said. He pointed at Sarah. "You better hope that test proves they're not Tom's. Because if they are, we'll have to figure out how your family lied about who they really are." After they left, Sarah cried for an hour. Not quiet tears, loud, ugly sobs that came from the deepest part of her soul. Tom came home and found her on the bathroom floor. "They were here," he asked. "Your father called me a liar. He said terrible things, Tom, and you weren't here to defend me." Tom looked tired. So tired. "What do you want me to say, Sarah? I'm confused, too." "You're supposed to believe in me. You're supposed to trust me." "I'm trying," Tom shouted, and both babies started crying. He closed his eyes. "I'm trying, Sarah, but this is impossible." Day 3 brought worse news. Someone at the hospital had talked. By evening, Sarah's phone exploded with messages. Friends asking if the rumors were true. Strangers sending hateful comments. Someone had posted about it online, and now the whole world seemed to know about the white woman who had black babies. The comments were cruel. She obviously cheated. Those poor babies, born into a lie. The husband should leave her. Sarah stopped reading. She turned off her phone and focused on Grace and Hope. They didn't care about DNA tests or angry relatives or internet strangers. They just wanted milk and cuddles and love. And Sarah had plenty of love to give. Day 4 was the quietest. Tom barely spoke. He went to work early and came home late. When he was home, he stayed in the guest room. Sarah's best friend Maya came to visit. Maya was the only person who didn't look at the babies with doubt. "They're gorgeous," Maya said, holding Hope gently. "Look at these cheeks. And these tiny fingers." Sarah felt tears coming again. "Everyone thinks I'm a liar." "I don't," Maya said firmly. "I know you, Sarah. You love Tom. This is something else. Something science will explain. What if the test says they're not his?" Then we figured out. "But Sarah, look at Hope's nose. It's shaped just like Tom's. And Grace has your exact same ears. I can see both of you in these babies." Sarah wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that somehow, some way, everything would make sense. Day 5 brought a surprise. Sarah was feeding the babies when she noticed something. Grace had a small dimple on her right cheek, exactly where Tom had his. And Hope had a tiny freckle behind her left ear, just like Sarah's grandmother. She grabbed her phone and started researching. She typed, "Can white parents have black babies?" The search results talked about something called dormant genes, ancestral DNA, hidden family history. Sarah's heart started beating faster. She found stories of families discovering African heritage they never knew they had. Stories of great-great-grandparents whose history got buried and forgotten. Could it be? She thought about her own family. Her grandmother had always been mysterious about their family tree. Sarah's great-great-grandmother's pictures were never shown. Family stories started from Sarah's great-grandmother forward, but never before. What if there was a reason for that? Day 6 felt different. Hope grew stronger. Tom actually smiled when Grace grabbed his finger during a diaper change. It was a small moment, but it felt like the sun breaking through clouds. "Tomorrow," he said quietly. "Tomorrow we'll know." Sarah nodded. She had spent 6 days preparing for this moment. 6 days of fear and hope tangled together. That night, she had a dream. In the dream, a woman stood in a field of golden grass. She had dark skin like Grace and Hope and eyes full of wisdom. She wore colorful cloth wrapped around her body, and she smiled at Sarah with so much love it hurt. "Don't be afraid," the woman said. They carry my blood. They carry my story. Tell them about me. Tell them about Amma. Sarah woke up with the name burning in her mind. Amma. Day 7 arrived like thunder. The hospital called at 10 in the morning. Sarah's hands shook so hard she almost dropped the phone. Mrs. Patterson? This is Dr. Williams. We have your results. Can you and your husband come in this afternoon? Just tell me now, Sarah begged. Please. Dr. Williams was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I think you'll want to sit down for this conversation. Can you come at 2? At 2 o'clock, Sarah and Tom sat in Dr. Williams' office. The babies were with Maya. The room smelled like cleaning supplies and fear. Dr. Williams opened a folder. His face was serious, but not sad, not angry, something else. The results are remarkable, he said slowly. Mrs. Patterson, both babies are biologically yours. 100%. And Mr. Patterson, they're yours too. Tom's mouth fell open. What? But how? Sarah whispered. Dr. Williams pulled out papers covered in scientific words. We ran the test 3 times because we couldn't believe it ourselves. What we found is extraordinary. Mrs. Patterson, you carry dormant DNA markers from African ancestry. These markers have been hidden in your family for generations, possibly 3 to 5 generations back. Sometimes these genes can wake up, especially in cases of twins. Sarah felt the room spinning. African ancestry? In my family? We went deeper into your genetic history. We found a direct maternal line connection to a woman from Ghana. The records show her name as Amma. She would be your great-great-great-grandmother. Amma, the name from her dream. Tom grabbed Sarah's hand. So they're ours? Really ours. Really yours. Dr. Williams smiled. Your daughters are a genetic miracle. They're proof that history lives in our blood, even when we forget it. Sarah started crying, but these were different tears. These were tears of relief, of joy, of something bigger than she could name. Amma, she whispered. Her name was Amma, and somewhere across time and space, Sarah felt that woman from her dream smile. Sarah couldn't stop staring at the papers in her hands. Amma, her great-great-great-grandmother, a woman born in Ghana, who had crossed an ocean and built a life in a land that tried to erase her story. I need to know everything about her, Sarah said, her voice shaking with emotion. Dr. Williams nodded. The genetic testing company can connect you with genealogy experts. They can help you trace your family line back to Amma and beyond. Tom squeezed Sarah's hand. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I doubted you. I doubted us. Sarah looked at her husband. His eyes were red with tears. For 6 days, he had been cold and distant. For 6 days, she had felt so alone. You're here now, she said softly. That's what matters. They drove home in silence, but it was a different kind of silence. Not angry or scared. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when your whole world has shifted and you need time to understand it. Maya was waiting for them with the babies. The moment she saw their faces, she knew. They're yours, Maya said, smiling so wide her cheeks must have hurt. They're ours, Sarah confirmed. And they carry the blood of a woman named Amma, my ancestor from Ghana. Maya's eyes went wide. That's incredible. Sarah, do you know what this means? Your daughters are living bridges. They connect you to a history you never knew you had. That night, Sarah started researching. She sat at her computer with Hope sleeping against her chest and Grace in a bassinet beside her. Tom brought her tea and looked over her shoulder as she typed. Amma, Sarah whispered, reading the information on her screen. It's a common name in Ghana. It means born on Saturday. It's a name given to girls who are born on that day. Tom leaned closer. Look, there's information about the Akan people of Ghana. That might be where she came from. Sarah clicked through pages and pages of history. She learned about rich cultures and beautiful traditions. She saw pictures of Akan cloth, bright colors woven into patterns that told stories. She read about music and dance and languages that sang. This is part of us, Sarah said, tears running down her face. This is part of Grace and Hope, and I never knew. How did I never know? The next day, Sarah called her mother. Mom, I need to ask you about great-great-grandma. The one we don't have pictures of. The one nobody talks about. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. What did the DNA test say, Sarah? It said the babies are ours. Mine and Tom's. And it said I have African ancestry. From a woman named Amma. Her mother started crying. I knew, she whispered. My grandmother told me once, when I was very young. She said we had to keep it secret. Back then, having black ancestry could ruin a family. People could lose their jobs, their homes, everything. So the story got buried. The pictures got hidden. And we pretended our history started later than it did. Sarah felt anger and sadness mixing together in her chest. You knew? And you never told me? I was trying to protect you. I thought if nobody knew, it wouldn't matter. But then your babies came, and her mother's voice broke. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I should have told you the truth. Yes, Sarah said firmly. You should have. But now I know, and I'm going to make sure Grace and Hope know too. I'm going to make sure they're proud of every part of who they are. The next week was a whirlwind. Sarah connected with genealogy experts who helped her trace her family line. They found records, old and faded but real, ship manifests, marriage certificates, birth records. They found Amma, born in 1847 in Ghana, brought to America in 1865, just as slavery was ending. She had married a white man named Thomas Patterson, Tom's great-great-great-grandfather on his mother's side. Wait, Tom said, staring at the records. Patterson. That's my name. That's my family, too. The genealogist nodded. Your families merged generations ago. Amma married into the Patterson line. Her daughter married a white man, and their children did the same. With each generation, the physical traits became less visible, but the DNA remained. Hidden but not gone. Sarah and Tom looked at each other in amazement. We're related, Tom said slowly, distantly, but we share Amma as an ancestor. That's why the babies have both our features, Sarah realized. That's why Grace has your dimple and Hope has my grandmother's freckle. Amma's blood flows through both of us. But not everyone was ready to accept the truth. Tom's father refused to believe the DNA results. He said the tests must be wrong, that the doctors were lying, that Sarah had somehow tricked everyone. Tom stood up to him for the first time in his life. Dad, these are your granddaughters. This is your family history, too. Amma is your ancestor, just like she's Sarah's. Either you accept that, or you don't get to be part of their lives. His father's face turned red with anger, but Tom didn't back down. I'm serious, Dad. I won't let you fill Grace and Hope with shame about who they are. They're perfect. They're ours. And they carry a history we should be proud of. Tom's father left without another word. His mother stayed. I want to know about Amma, she said quietly. I want to know where I really come from. The internet was a different challenge. The story had spread online. Thousands of people had opinions. Some were beautiful. People celebrating the miracle, sharing their own stories of discovering hidden ancestry, sending messages of love and support. But others were cruel. She's still lying, some wrote. DNA tests can be faked. Those babies will never belong anywhere. Others said, too black for white people, too white for black people. Sarah wanted to ignore the hateful words, but they hurt like knives. Maya suggested something bold. Tell your story. Really tell it. Make a video. Show people the truth. Show them Amma. So Sarah did. She sat in the nursery with Grace and Hope. Tom stood beside her, and they made a video. Our names are Sarah and Tom Patterson. Sarah began. And these are our daughters, Grace and Hope. 3 weeks ago, they were born, and they surprised everyone, including us. We're white, and they have beautiful dark skin. People said terrible things. They said I cheated. They said I lied. They said these babies couldn't be ours. Tom picked up the story. We did a DNA test, and we learned something amazing. These babies are 100% biologically ours. We learned that we carry the DNA of a woman named Amma, our great-great-great-grandmother from Ghana. Her story was buried. Her history was hidden. but her blood lives on. Sarah held up a picture they had found, the only one that survived. It showed a beautiful woman with dark skin and proud eyes, wearing a long dress from the 1800s. "This is Alma," Sarah said, her voice full of emotion. "This is our ancestor. Grace and hope, our legacy. They prove that history can't be erased. They prove that love is stronger than fear. They prove that family is more than what we can see. It's what flows through our veins and connects us across time." The video ended with Sarah kissing both babies, and Tom's arm around all three of them. They posted it online and waited. Within hours, it had thousands of views, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. The comments poured in. "This made me cry. What a beautiful story. I discovered my own hidden ancestry after seeing this. Thank you for being brave. Those babies are gorgeous. Your family is gorgeous. Alma will be so proud." That last comment made Sarah cry happy tears. News channels wanted to interview them. Magazines wanted to feature their story. But Sarah and Tom decided to keep things simple. They shared their story once, and then they focused on what really mattered, their family. If you've been touched by Sarah, Tom, Grace, and Hope's story, please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear about the power of love and heritage. Subscribe to our channel for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in family and the beautiful mysteries hidden in our DNA. Your like and share helps us reach more people with stories that matter. 3 months later, Sarah stood in the nursery, decorating the walls. She had ordered beautiful Kent cloth from Ghana, the real thing, hand-woven by artisans who kept the tradition alive. She hung it on the walls in bright, bold patterns. She had printed pictures of Alma and placed them in frames. Grace and Hope would grow up knowing her face, knowing her name, knowing her story. Tom built a special bookshelf filled with books about Ghana, about African history, about families who look different but love the same. "They'll know where they come from," Sarah said, stepping back to look at the room. Both sides of their heritage, the European and the African, the hidden and the revealed. Tom wrapped his arms around her. "Alma will be proud of you. She'd be proud of all of us," Sarah corrected. Grace and Hope were 6 months old when Sarah and Tom made a decision. They would go to Ghana. They would visit the land where Alma was born. They would walk the ground she had walked, breathe the air she had breathed, and bring their daughters home to a place they had never been but somehow belonged to. The trip took months of planning. They connected with historians in Ghana who helped them trace Alma's village. They learned the customs, the language basics, the proper ways to greet elders. When they finally arrived in Ghana, something shifted in Sarah's soul. The moment she stepped off the plane, she felt it, a connection she couldn't explain. The warm air, the sounds, the colors. It felt like coming home to a place she had never known. In the village where Alma was born, the elders welcomed them with open arms. "You have brought her daughters home," one elderly woman said, touching Grace and Hope's cheeks with gentle hands. "Alma's spirit lives in them. We can see it in their eyes." They performed a ceremony, a naming ceremony, the kind Alma would have had as a baby. Grace and Hope were given Ghanaian names to go with their English ones. Grace became a Kojua, meaning born on Sunday, because she had been born on a Sunday. Hope became Alma, a variation of Alma's name, connecting her directly to her ancestor. Sarah cried through the entire ceremony. Tom held her hand, tears running down his own face. That night, they sat under the stars, their daughters sleeping peacefully in their arms. "We're not the same people we were 6 months ago," Tom said softly. "No," Sarah agreed. "We're better. We're whole. We know who we are now." Back home, life continued, but different. Tom's father eventually came around. It took time and long conversations, and looking into Grace and Hope's eyes until he couldn't deny what he saw there. Family. His family. Sarah's mother helped her research more of their family history. Together, they uncovered stories that had been buried for over a century. Stories of strength and survival, and love that refused to die. The girls grew into happy toddlers who loved Kent cloth and knew Alma's face, as well as their own. They had books in English and Twi, the language of Ghana. They had music from both sides of the ocean. They belonged to everything, and everything belonged to them. On their third birthday, Sarah and Tom threw a party that blended all their traditions. They had cake, a regular birthday cake, and a special Ghanaian cake, made with coconut and ginger. They played American music and Ghanaian high life. They invited everyone, black and white, family and friends, people who had doubted and people who had believed from the start. Tom's father was there. He had learned to say the girls' Ghanaian names properly. He told them stories about the Patterson family, but now those stories included Alma. She was no longer hidden. She was honored. As Sarah watched Grace and Hope blow out their candles, she thought about that day in the hospital. The shock, the fear, the doubt. The 7 days that felt like 7 years. She thought about the woman in her dream, Alma, standing in a field of golden grass, smiling with love. "Thank you," Sarah whispered to the air, to the past, to the ancestor who had given them this gift. Because that's what Grace and Hope were, a gift. Not just to Sarah and Tom, but to everyone who knew them. They were proof that love is bigger than biology, that family extends beyond what we can see, that history lives in our blood even when we forget it. They were proof that the past, present, and future can live in one smile, one tiny hand, one beating heart. Alma's story had been buried for generations, but Grace and Hope had brought it back to life. They were her voice, her legacy, her proof that nothing, not time, not fear, not shame, can truly erase love. Sarah picked up Hope and spun her around. Grace ran to Tom, who caught her and lifted her high. "Look at our family," Sarah said, laughing through happy tears. "Look at what we become." Tom looked around the room, at all the different faces, all the different shades of skin, all the different stories woven together into one beautiful tapestry. "Alma gave us this," he said. "She gave us truth. She gave us pride. She gave us each other." And somewhere across time and space, in a place beyond words and breath, Alma smiled. Her children had come home. Her story was told. Her love had won. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another incredible true story about love, family, and the beautiful surprises life brings us. Your support helps us share more stories that matter. Comment below and tell us what part of Sarah and Alma's story moved you the most.